to it. Emanuela, can you enable me to share my screen?
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, sure, thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, please, I believe you can all see my screen. Kindly let me know if you can't. Right, so in the last class, we discussed objects. And then we said that objects are the non-primitive data types, which has properties. And then we said the properties are key value pair. The properties are key value pair. We did some examples. As you can see from my screen, we had an object title and an object called student, which had some properties like name, date of birth, student ID, its residence, and then a whole lot. So in today's class, we are going to look at the structuring, and we are going to try to understand where the structuring comes into play in our programming journey as front-end engineers. In the last session, I did mention that as a front-end engineer, you are going to receive some data via your API, which is data coming from the database. And sometimes they can be huge data of different properties. So you can have first name, last name, email, phone, and so on and so forth. So what happens if you don't want all this data coming to you? Okay, you don't want to let's say, display all this data. What then do you do? This is where the structuring comes into play. Now we have array destructuring, and then we have object destructuring. We have array destructuring and then object destructuring. Okay, so in a short minute, we are going to look at what how array destructuring actually works. So let's take an example here. Let me comment all this out. So let's take this example. So we have an array. So let's say const my array, or let me just put an actual. So cars is equal to so something like this. So we have an array of cars, and we want to destructure this array. Now, what we can do is we can pick certain elements from the array, okay, and then assign it to a variable. That is the whole idea of creating, the whole idea of the concept of destructuring. That is, you have either an object or an array, and what you can do is that you can destructure. So meaning that you can break the array or the object into different components or into different elements. And once you do that, you automatically assign it to a variable. So as we are having this, let's say I want to take out the first and then the second array and assign it to a variable. Okay, so what I'll do is this. So I can do something like let, and then I can assign a variable to it. So let's say car1, car2, okay, is equal to cars. Okay, So what I've done here is I want to be able to select these two. Now, because the array is having more than just one element, what will happen is that the program will automatically align them by positions. So car 1 will go for Toyota, and then car 2 will go for Opel. So let's see. So let's do console.log car 1, and let's try to print that here and see. So node these arrays. Okay, so you can see that even though I had car 1 here as a variable, it's printed Toyota. Okay, the same applies. So if let's say I change this one to car 2, which is a destructured variable or destructured element, and let me save it, and then I print it, I am having Opel. Now, the question that may run through your mind is, what happens to the remaining one? The remaining ones, what happens to it? So we
hello,
will look
Isaac.
at, yes, please. Hello? Hello. Someone called me. May I know? Hello. Okay, let me continue. Let me continue. Please, can you hear me? I want to be sure if it wasn't coming from my audio. Can anyone hear me? Okay, then that's fine. All right. So
Yes, I can hear you.
yeah. So I was saying that the question that will come in your mind is, what happens to the other elements? What happens to the other elements or the remaining elements? So we have a concept in JavaScript called the REST. Okay, some call it the REST operator. Okay, and it's usually with this dots. Okay, these 3 dots. Okay, let me just put a comment on it. Okay, it's usually with this 3 dots. Now, let me explain the concept of the REST, and then I will come to put it in practice for us to see. So now that I have assigned Toyota to car 1, Opel to car 2. Okay, by virtue of using the REST operator, I can just say maybe new cars. Okay, and now this time around, let me print new cars, and let's see what will happen here. Okay, so save this and then run it. So you can see that car 2, sorry, which is a variable that has been created for, and then we have Opel stored in it, is being displayed over here. And then the REST operator, okay, is printing the remaining strings or the remaining elements as an array. The remaining elements as an array. So depending on your case, okay, depending on the case that you are dealing with, you can do something like this. So let me give you a practical example. You have data coming from the database, and then you know that the data is arranged in ascending order, meaning that the timestamps, you know what the timestamps are? They created that. So anytime you push something to the database, there are chances that the data will store a timestamp, which is the time that the resource was created. Okay, someone is trying to, someone is, please, the person who's requesting remote control, please, it's not allowed. Okay, it's not allowed. The request keeps coming in. Sorry, someone is making a request to control my screen remotely. I don't know. And I think Emanuela, you would have to check the waiting room. I just saw some requests coming through. Please, whoever it is, please stop because it's distracting me. Okay, please stop. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. Right. So we have seen how we can destructure our array elements into variables, and then how to also use the REST operator as well. REST operator as well. Today, I want to try as much as possible for us to finish a lot. So let's also look at how destruction is done in an object. Let's look at how destruction is done in an object. Okay, so let me delete this and then let's make use of the student object. Oh yeah, before I forget, I was given an example with a timestamp. So what I was saying was that when you have data coming from the database, usually backend engineers structure the database in such a way that anytime a new resource is created, if I say new resource is created, you do a post request. Okay, you do a post request, meaning that you have data saved in the database through the API. Anytime they are modeling their data schema or the database schemas or tables, what they do is they ensure that there is timestamp so that they will know when each resource was created. So if you take a school management system where you will be, let's say, creating students, okay. Hold on for me, sorry. Yeah, where you'll be creating students, you would want to know when each student was registered. Okay, you want to know when each student was registered. So you make sure that you have a timestamp for it. Okay, so that's just so don't hack your host. All right. Yeah, so let's also take a look at the objects. So the objects destruction works similar, but the difference is that with the array destruction, you use the square brackets, that is the array squares that you have. But with the object, you have the curly braces. Okay, so I have this equal to students. Okay, equal to students. So what I can do here is that I can destructure, let's say, name and then student's ID. So let's assume that is the only data that you need to print. Then you just do something like this. So I'll do console.log and then print name and see what happens. Okay, so says name is deprecated. Okay, hope I'm not making a mistake here. Okay, so let's run this and see. So node objects. Okay, so I'm having Isaac printed here. I'm having Isaac printed over here. Right. The same way I can destructure student ID as well. Can destructure student ID as well. And I will have the student ID that was stored here printed in my console for me or my terminal for me to see. Any question up to this point? Any question? Any question? Also, if the array is empty, you are going to have undefined values or undefined results if you destructure an array or object. Yeah, you're going to have undefined. So take note of that. Take note of that. Take note of that. Okay. If there are no questions, then I think we can proceed. Let me see if there's anything that I've missed. Let me look through my resource if there's something that I need to cover that I haven't. Yeah, so we've done rest. Yes, and then also sometimes you can have nested distraction. You can have nested distraction. The last time I wanted to talk about map, but I learned you've not gotten to that level yet. So when you start doing map, filter, reduce, you would definitely be doing something like that. Okay. Okay, so someone is asking, why did you use the same attribute name for distraction? Why didn't you use the same attribute name for distraction? Maybe I'm not getting you well, but if I understand what you are saying, are you talking about the distraction as a keyword, or you're talking about the name? Like, why not name one? Okay. So there is a way. Okay, so you're saying that, like, why not name one and then student one? Okay, good. It's a good question that you're asking. Good. It's a good question that you're asking. Let me try for you to see, and then let's see what happens. So if I do name one, and then this one, right? So something like this. This is what you are trying to say. Okay. So I will show you the results and I'll explain to you what is happening. So like I told you earlier, I think I told you like some few minutes ago, that if I use the array rather, I said if the array is empty, you're going to get undefined. Now, one thing you need to understand is that when it comes to array, the only identifier that you can think of is the index numbers, okay, the indices. That is the only identifier. So it doesn't matter the spelling or how the text was written, it doesn't matter. But when it comes to objects, okay, you see that with the objects, we have clearly defined the properties. So name is name. Name is not name one. But there is something you can do, which I will explain in some few seconds. DOB is DOB. Okay. So if let's say you want to do something like you want to rather assign name to name one, then you can do something like this. So now let's see. So now you can see that I am having Isaac printed. Okay. So for instance, you are expecting maybe the data that is coming to be in order of best scores, something like that, right? So you want to, let's say, give the first name valedictorian or something like that. Then that one you can do something like this, and then you rather assign the value that is coming through the name property to the new word that you are going to put here. So that is how that will work. Is it arrow? Sorry if I don't mention him. I think I can call it Sinachi. I think that one is okay. If it's Sinachi, I hope you understand it. Please give me a feedback if you do. Okay. So you cannot just put, so how the array works. Okay. I hope you understand the question that she's asking. I don't know if it's a lady. I'm sure. I hope you understand the question that she's asking. So like we have over here, okay, the array distraction, we have car one, car two, right? But you can see that over here, there's nothing like car here, okay? But when we come to the object, we insisted on the property name that we know, okay? The property names that we know in the object, okay? In the object. So that is how come we have that. Okay. I believe if it was natural, I believe you've understood it now. If not, come again and then let me know if I didn't address the. Okay, all right, good. Sorry. The person who's trying to get access to my, I don't know what you want to do. Okay. All right, so let's continue. let's continue. Okay, so now let's quickly move on to functions. Let's quickly move on to functions. And then I believe some of you may have idea of what functions are from your previous programming knowledge or anything. I mean, I'm sure you have some knowledge of what functions are. But if you don't, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. I will do my best to explain what functions are to you, and then we can look at the various ways of creating a function in JavaScript. Okay, we'll look at the various ways of creating a function in JavaScript. All right, so when you talk about functions, we are literally talking about defining a set of codes or not codes, a set of instructions, okay, or a block of instructions to perform a specific task, okay? We're talking about function. I always use the human senses as an example for explaining this, okay? So the sensory organs, each of them has a specific role to play, okay? But if we are translating it into programming, we are saying that if you are writing a function, then the function is dedicated to doing something, okay? So you can write a function to add numbers, and then you specify the number of digits that can be added, okay? You can write a function that will take a value and then transform it into something else for you, okay? As long as the block of code you are writing is supposed to do a specific thing, it's a function, okay? It's a function. Let me give you a typical example. Console.log. The .log that you see there is a function. The .log that you see there is a function. Yeah, the .log that you see there is a function. As you proceed, I'm sure you've used functions like toString, parseInt, and the rest. And sometimes you ask yourself that if, let's say, you do students dot is resident to string or something like that, right? And you know very well that in this object, you've not defined any function. You've not defined any function. I told you in last time that you can add functions to objects. So here you didn't add any function called toString or parseInt. But if you invoke it, it will work for you. If you invoke it, it will work for you. Okay? If you invoke it, it will work for you. So let's see how we can create our own functions, okay, which we can use in our programs, okay? Our programs. All right, so there are several ways of creating a functions, and then we are going to look at these ways of creating a function, okay? But generally, okay, functions can take a parameter, and we'll look at what a parameter is, and you can pass an argument. Listen again. Functions, generally, a function can have a parameter, okay? And you can pass an argument to it. I'll explain what the parameter is and what the argument which is being passed means, okay? So let me create a new. Okay, so functions. Okay. Right. So let's see. Now, the very common way of creating a function that you would come across I don't know, but I don't know why today someone is trying as much as possible to get access. And I'm seeing some derogatory insults in the chat, which is even funny. I mean, we are here to learn, okay? So if you're not interested, I don't think you should be in the class, okay? Shouldn't be in the session. I think, Emanuela, for that person, Michael Jordan, you can just take the person out. I don't know what's wrong with him. Okay, so let's
I
see.
took person off. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine. So the very common approach to creating a function, okay, is using the function keyword, okay, followed by the name of the function. So the function keyword followed by the name of the function, okay. So let me call the function sum, and then I defined, okay, I defined what the function is supposed to do. Okay, what the function is supposed to do. This is the commonest way you are going to see a function being created. Okay, but as you learn, you are going to see other ways of creating functions, which definitely you would be used to some of them than creating a function like this. Okay, then creating functions like this. So we have function expression, arrow functions, and then function declaration. Okay, I will talk through the differences to you in some few minutes. Okay, but let's try to understand this. Now, for those of you who have done this typed programming languages before, I'm talking about Java, C++, and the rest. Okay, you are being told that when you create a function, you must set the return type, right? You must set the return type. Okay, so whether the return type is going to be void, is going to be an integer, is going to be a string, is going to be a Boolean. Okay, but like I told you in the last class, JavaScript is loosely typed. Okay, you don't necessarily need to, you don't even need to set the type of the function or the type of the variable or object. You don't need the variables. You don't need to set the type. You just need to be flowing with your code, and then you are good to go. So if I have something like this, I can say let's say let's num1 plus num2. Okay, let me do this. So let total to be equal to num1 plus num2. Now num1 and num2 have not been created as variables yet. Okay, so two ways. It is either I will create a variable, so let's say const num1 to be equal to 5, and then const num2 to be equal to, let's say, 8. Okay, then I can actually return, let's say, total. Okay, you can see that the code is too plenty for this function that I'm writing, but for the sake of those who are at the base level, that's why. So I have defined my function. Okay, I've declared my function. Now I can now call the function. How do you call a function? You call a function by the name. You call a function by the name.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, please. I want to apologize as regards the chat because even me myself, I'm surprised. So I don't know if it's an error or something, but we're going to address that.
Don't worry.
Apologies,
It's
please.
understandable. Don't worry. It's understandable. Don't worry
Okay,
at all.
thank you so much.
Don't worry, it's understandable.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So you call the function by the function name, right? So sum. Okay. So this is the function that I've created. Okay, and it's supposed to return the total of adding the two numbers. Okay, the total of adding the two numbers. Okay, Now, if I save this function, this file, and then I run it here, so node functions, okay, we are not seeing any error. Okay, means that the program was compiled well. Okay, there's no error, but we need to see a result. So what you do is, because it's going, so what will happen is that at line 8, a value is being returned, but because you are not displaying it or you're not printing it, you're not seeing it. So I can just do console.log. Okay, console.log like this, and then now this time around, I am seeing 13. Okay. Oh, forgot to zoom in this thing because, oh, okay. And let me also zoom in this one for you. Okay. Okay, I think this is fine, right? So we can see that our function is giving us some results or the expected results over here. Okay. Now you are not going to write functions where you are going to pre-populate, okay, the data here. Okay, so this is where we bring in parameters, okay, parameters and then arguments. This is where we bring in parameters and arguments. So what are these parameters? Okay, the parameters are what we define here. Okay, the variables that we define inside the brackets or the parentheses, okay, or the curved parentheses. So instead of doing the const num1, const num2, I will just do num1 and then num2 here. Okay. So what it means is, if I am calling this function expects 2 arguments, okay, 2 arguments. So we have, let's say, 6, 19, okay? So what you write in here is what you call the parameters. And what you pass in here is the argument. What you define here, parameters. What you pass here is argument. Okay, so a typical example, you have a function which, let's say, check the score of a student, okay, the score of a student, and then give you the grade, okay, again, it gives you the grade. So you always want to know the score, okay, so you pass the score as an argument because the parameter is set to, let's say, mark. We are going to do that after this example is demonstrated. So let's save this and then let's run this thing. So we're having 25. Okay, you're having 25. According to your syllabus, I think you've done conditions and then loops. I think you've done something like that. So you can practice that with the function that you have learned today. Okay, you can practice with what you have learned today. Okay, any question up to this point? Any question? If you do, please let me know if you have any question. I'm going through the chat box. If there is any question, you let me know. So going over again, we are saying that functions are meant to perform specific tasks. Okay, and what it means is that you create a function and you define what the function is supposed to do. Okay, and we also said that every functions come with their return types. Okay, but with JavaScript, which is loosely typed, you don't need to forcefully bring a return type. Okay, you don't forcefully need to bring a return type, okay, or a return value. You don't need to forcefully do that unless you want to have something like that. So I could have taken this one out and then let the function do whatever it's supposed to do. the equivalent of not bringing the return type in, let's say, Java or C++ or any of those typed languages, C and the rest, is you creating a void type of a function, So it does the work, but it doesn't return anything. Okay, it doesn't return anything. But where there's a return, it means that the function will do something and then will return some result or whatever you expect it to do for you. What you expect it to do for you. Okay. I don't know if you have done local and then global variables. I'm not sure if you have done that already. If you have, then we can. Because I'm sure you've done variables, so I don't need to go there. Okay. We can also set default values. Okay, we can set default values. Okay, so with, let's say, num2, okay, I can set a value like, let's say, 23. Okay, so what this will do is this: if I run this code, I am going to get back the same answer I had. Okay, why? Because I actually passed the second argument. But in case I don't, and I pass only one, okay? If I pass only one, I see a question. I'm going to answer that very soon, okay? So you can see here, look at what my ID is saying. So num1 is expected, right? It's expected. But num2 is optional, meaning, now let me put it this way. Num1 is required, num2 is optional. As you can see the question mark there. So I can just put 25 here, save it, and then run that. And I'm getting 48, which is 25 plus 23. Okay, 25 plus 23. So let's look at a common scenario to something like this. Okay, a common scenario to something like this. So this interest calculator applications, right? Sometimes the government looks at the common or the average interest that the banks are offering. So if you don't know the interest that your bank is going to give you, if you don't know the interest that your bank is going to give you, then what will happen is that you use the default one, which is the average that the banks are giving to do your calculation. Okay, there are other scenarios that you can look at in your own time, right? So someone is saying that, is it okay to put the console.log in a function sum curly bracket? Is it okay to put the console.log in the function sum? A moment, please hold on.
So, hello, Isaac, you can speak now.
Hello? Okay. All right. Sorry for the inconvenience. Right. So I was reading through the question. It says that, is it okay to put the console.log? Oh, okay. Yes. It's okay. It's okay to do that. Yeah. So that means you don't need any return type. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, so what will happen then is anytime this function is called, something must be printed in the console. Okay. Now, what is the downside of it? The downside of it is, you see, you are going to build front-end applications. Okay, meaning that you are going to build front-end application, meaning that whatever data that you have, you want to display it on the interface. You want to display it on the interface. So if you put the console.log inside, then it means that every time the function does its work, the user has to open the, let's say, the developer tools or the console, if any. So else the person will not see the result. And mobile phones don't have that ability. Most mobile phones don't have that ability. So then it's not really a good idea to do that. James, I believe you understand what I'm saying. Someone is saying that what is asking, what now happens if you pass into arguments still? Oh, okay. Yeah, so if you pass two arguments, so let's say this is 25, okay. What then happens is that these two will calculate or would sum up themselves, okay. So let's see. So we are getting 50. Okay, we are getting 50. So if you pass two arguments still, the two arguments would sum themselves up and then give you the result. But if you don't bring one, then the other one will work. Okay, then the other one will work. Abdul Salam, I believe I've answered your question. Any more question? Any more question? Any more question? Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, so another way of also doing the using the default is you using the ampersand. Okay, using the ampersand or the pipe. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. The ampersand or the the pipe symbols. Okay, so this is what I mean by the ampersand or the pipe symbols. So you can you briefly talk about local and then global variables? Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that. So let me finish with the pipe one. Okay, so let's take this for instance. We are saying that let total to be equal to num1 plus num2. Okay, we can bring this sign and then we put, let's say, 23. So this pipe sign stands for or. Those of you have done logic before, it stands for or. Okay, this stands for or. And what it really does is, if no value is passed here, then assign 23 to it. Okay. Yeah, please keep the questions coming in as early as you can so that I can address it on time. Okay, so let me see. I have num1 plus num2, or okay. Oh no, I should have done it this way. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm getting 48. Yeah, I'm getting 48. Yes, and the good thing is, you can see the mistake that I made here by ignoring just this thing, the curly brace. Sorry, the actual parentheses. You can see that I had an error, right? So what was happening here was that what this means is you have to work here or you print this. Okay, now because I passed only this, it's nullified the whole addition that is happening here. So 23 rather printed. Okay, 23 rather printed. So I don't know in Nigeria if you do something called board mass. I'm sure you do, because Ghana, we are taught board mass. So the same, I mean, similar concept, okay, of board masses are being applied over here. Okay. Any other question before I move on to the global and then local variable? Any question? I'm expecting more question because I believe you were aware that there's going to be a class on function. So, okay. So if there's no question, then let's look at global and then local variables. Okay, local and then can you explain more, please? Maria, what should I explain more? Please let me know about the logical operators. Oh, okay. You've not done logical operators yet. Let me know if you haven't done, then I can do all of that. Okay. Oh, it's 6 minutes more. Okay. Someone says I just okay, so you just log in. I think the recording will be available, so don't worry about that. Recording will be available. Okay, so let's look at the local and then the global variable. Okay, so it's very simple. The local variables are the variables that you create inside the block. So it can be a function block, or it can be decision block or loops. Decision blocks is the condition, if else, and the rest. If else, I mean that's the only one that we have. Yeah, if else. And the loops too, you have global and then local variables working there. Okay, so like the line 2 that I have here, this is a local variable. Okay, this is a local variable which has been created here. Okay, which has been created here. Now let's see how we can do the global. So the global can be something like this. So let's bonus to be equal to 5. Okay, so let me do something like num2 plus bonus. Okay, so this bonus is a variable that has been created outside and is accessible or can be used inside this function that we have created. So if I run this, I'm getting none. Let me check what is happening. Oh, sorry. Can someone tell me why I had the NaN? NaN stands for not a number. I left something else. Can someone tell me what I missed? Okay, so basically I didn't pass the second argument, so that is why. Yeah, num2, excellent, num2. Okay. Right, so I'm getting 33. So 25 plus so num1 is 25 and num2 20. So this becomes 28 plus 5. Yeah, plus 5. Okay, and I'm getting 33. So this is a global variable. So even if I create another function here, okay, if I create another function here, okay, xy, so return x times bonus. Okay, it still be usable here. So I can just call this multiply, and then this is okay, I missed something. Yeah, okay. So this, let's run and see. Let me clear the screen. So let's run this and see. Okay, so you are getting 375 for this one. So the same variable that I have here is able to be supplied over here as well. Okay, I believe the one who asks the local and then the global variables, you understand it now. So local variables, you define it in a block. The block can be a function. The block can be if-else statements. It can be a loops. Okay, that's local. But if you define it outside, it's a global variable. Some of the resources call it outer variable. So it's the same thing. Okay, there was another, yeah. So someone was asking the logical operators, So logical operators, we have Maria, confirm if you've done ternary operators. Confirm if you have done ternary operators. Let me know if you have. If you've done decisions, then I'm sure there's some chance that you've done ternary operators. Not really. Okay, that's fine. So let's look at something. Okay, now the operators. Okay, those of you who have done physics and those engineering courses, there's chance that you did logic in school. Even in maths, you do logic, and logics usually works with Boolean values. That is true or false. Okay, Boolean values, that is true or false. Let me comment this one out. So this is for or, okay? And this is for and. That's all. The first one is for or, the second one is for and, okay? So what do I mean? I want to do something. So let's say const name, okay, let me use variables. Const is student is equal to true. Const is married, something like this. Is equal to false, okay? Right. So I want to do something. I want to print the response, okay, or the logical conclusion of it. So a student is, and then is married, okay? Let me explain before I actually go here to print it. So this and, okay, these ampersands, the two ampersands, okay, it's representing and, okay. What it does is it will check, okay, if the left side and then the right side are true. That is the condition for and. It will only be true if the left and then the right are both true. That is the only time it will be true, okay? That's the only time that it will be true. So if I run this, I'm getting false because a student is true and then is married is false. But if I change this one to true, I'm getting true here. Very simple. Okay. Very, very simple. Now let's see how the pipe works. Okay. So console.log is married, a student. Okay. So this is true. So let's make this one false. And let's see what will happen. So this one is giving us true. So let's test this one to see false. We are getting false. So the logical conclusion for the or the pipe is that at least one of them, one side should be true. At least one side should be true. So let me just put the comment here. Both sides should be true. At least one side should be true, and then it will execute to true. Maria, I believe this short explanation is okay to help you understand it. Okay, all right, you're welcome. Right, our time is up, but I think Emanuela and then Marvelous can spare me some few minutes, and then I can take any questions. If any. All right, sure, that's fine. Thank you. Yeah, so let me have the questions. If there's no question, then I'll quickly look at the two other types of functions. Okay, so I told you that this way is called function declaration. Let me put it here. Function declaration. Okay, function declaration. The other way is called function expression. Okay, the questions are coming. Okay, yeah, keep dropping the questions. I'll answer them. Okay, so function expression. Okay, so what is this function expression? The function expression and the array function, they have something in common. The common thing is that we take the function. Okay, we take the function, the whole function, and then store it inside the variable. That is all. The arrow function and the function expression. The core idea behind it is that you take the whole function and you store it inside a variable. So you can call it as a variable. That is all. You can call it as a variable. So let's see how you create. Okay, so let me answer this question. It says, can a function return as not a function when logged into a console? Can a function return as not a function when if your question is not too clear, I'm trying to understand the question before I can say anything. Please come again, okay? Please come again. So while if comes again with the question, let's come clear with the question. Let's continue. So we have let add, or let's say display score, okay, to be equal to function, okay, like this. So this is the way of creating function using a function expression approach. Okay, so you pass your parameters here. Okay, you pass your parameters here. So you can do something like return. Okay, so you're saying that I try writing a function and I return it to a console and I got an error, not a function. Try writing a function, I return it to a console. How do you return it to a console? Okay, let me finish with this one and then I'll let Manuel allow you to speak so that I can hear what you're saying. Okay. Right. So we have so let's do some concatenation here. So hello. I hope you know what concatenation is. I'm sure you do. So let's do console.log display score. Okay, so I'm not going to pass anything here. Let's see what happens. Because if you remember, the editor was showing that the name is optional. So let's see. So it is printed. So you can see now what is happening here is that this function that I've created, okay, has become a value stored inside this, inside the display score variable. That's what it's doing. So you are getting you are getting this response. So function and then the name. So if I want to use it like the normal way, I'll pass my argument. So let's say Isaac, and then I can have my response printed or my results printed for me. Okay, let me try with a space. Okay, so I'm getting this. Okay, now what scenarios are you going to use something like this? Okay, well, you don't need the name. So there's something called anonymous functions. Okay, when you get to callbacks, and when you get to callbacks, promises, async await, and all that, you use these functions, this anonymous function. The anonymous function is function that you create without a name. Okay, function that you create without a name. Okay, so where, let's say you pass a function. Okay, you pass a function. Let me put it this way, like you use anonymous function when you are going to pass a function as an argument, something like that. Take it that way. You're going to pass a function as an argument. Okay, that is when you use anonymous function. So you just write whatever you have to write, and then you write this function straight away into where you would have put the argument. Okay, that is how anonymous functions work. Okay, then the last one is arrow functions. Okay, so arrow functions is denoted by the arrow structure. Okay, so display name is equal to this, and then you can return your and return whatever you want to return here. Okay, so this one doesn't even have the function key at all. This one doesn't even have a function key at all. Okay, and it's also an approach to creating anonymous function. It's an approach to creating anonymous function. So let me quickly run this and let's see what we are getting. We have so Jennifer. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, I do console.log. Sorry, I didn't call the function. Display name, yeah, display name. Okay. Right, so we are getting the results as expected. Okay, so I think okay, so if it has brought back the question again, so since that I tried writing a function and I returned it to the console, but I got an error, not a function. This is the function I wrote. Okay, function. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, so first and foremost, if you write a function like this, okay, you didn't bring a function name. That's the first thing. You didn't bring a function name. And two, the object is supposed to be a variable, but I didn't declare it well. So you should bring it either let or const. So let me copy and paste what you have here. Right here. Okay. So guys, let's help Effie. I'm sure Effie is a lady, so I think so. Okay, so it's either you would do you add the name or the function here. Let's say if the function name is text, you put it here. Okay, and this is what you have done here is you are using the object constructor, okay, which is not allowed in that manner. So you can either do, say, let object, okay, like this. Okay, objects like this, and then it will do whatever you want it to do for you. Or what you can do is you can use the function expression approach. So text, so let me see, text 1 is equal to function like this. And any of these two should work. Any of these two should work. So you did console.log. Yeah, so okay, so the function name is supposed to be the full. Okay. So then this is what this is supposed to happen. Okay. So this one will rather be, let's say, full 1, so that it doesn't conflict with this. So the mistake you made was you put this one inside rather than outside. Okay. All right. Any question? Any question? I believe we've learned a lot today, from the structuring to the various types of creating a function, the logical operators. Yeah, I've talked about the structuring, parameters and arguments as well. Setting default value for parameters. Okay. All right. So thank you all for having me. Thank you, Maria. Not Maria, is the name? Emanuela, and then Marvelous. Thanks very much for having me for this lecture. I do hope that you guys have a wonderful time in your career as front-end engineers, and hopefully you can build.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some people just dropped questions. And I don't know if you've addressed Mr. Ife's question. Then someone just dropped a question. I don't know if you can check. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure. If there are more questions, please add them. Okay, so we are having spread operator and then rest operator. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I am Chris FOB. Okay. So yeah, so I explained the rest operator. I didn't talk about the spread. Okay. Let me get an example to explain that for you. Okay. They are not the same thing, but they have similar. I mean, they both have the 3 dots, but let me find a better example to explain it for you. Okay. Any other question can follow. Maybe we can add the four remaining minutes to 8 to. Okay, my time is 8:16, so we can add the 4 remaining minutes to end it. So once again, okay, I mentioned that with the rest operator, okay, you can use it in the destruction, such that I gave an example that in the destruction, where is it? The array destruction, you can destructure your array element into variables. So car1 becomes the first element in the order that they are being placed. Okay. And in that case, someone may ask what happens to the other elements. Okay, what happens to the other elements? So giving an example, you have data. Okay, maybe you are fetching it from a JSON server or something like that, and then you want to be able to get, let's say, the first 2 or the first 3. You want to assign variables to it so that you can use it everywhere you want to. Okay, you use the destruction to do that, and then the remaining ones you can use the rest operator to handle that. Okay, confirm if that one is understood. Is it Chris? If will be. Sorry if I don't mention anymore. Yeah, confirm that before I move on to the spread. We still have some 2 minutes. If there's any question, go ahead and ask. Okay, it does. Good. So the simplest way of talking about the spread operator is creating a copy of all the. So let me give you an example here. So you have something like this, okay? So let's say const we usually do something like this. So name and then let's say email, okay? Equal to request.body. Okay, let's take something like this. Now, this is a bit advanced, but don't worry, I'll do my best to explain to you. What I'm talking about line 50. So the request.body, what it's trying to say is this. If you are building an API, okay, and then you have a body, the body is like the data that you're going to pass. So from the form, the data that you are passing, okay. Now, I have the structured name and then the structured email from request and then body. Okay, I have the structured name and then the structured email from request and then body. Okay, and maybe I want to, let's say, check for existence of email. You know, when you are creating an account, you want what the server does is it check whether the email exists or not. Okay, whether it exists or not. So if it exists, then you do something on it. If not, then you push the data. So what will happen is if you are looking at the spread operator, okay, you are just creating a copy. So this body is not having, this body is as an object and it's not having only these two, okay, it's having more. Okay, so what you can do is you can create a copy, of this request body into another object. And that's what we call, or that's the concept of the spread operator. But with the REST operator, after you've destructured, then it's like let me find a simple word for it. So you've destructured car 1, car 2. So the rest should go into new cars. I think that would be a simple way to explain it. And then with the spread operator, you are creating a copy of the existing array or object into a new one. That is all. Any other question? Any other question?
I think that's all the questions we have.
Okay.
No other question.
All right. So sorry for taking I think 20 or 21 minutes of your time, but I hope you did learn something. So once again, thanks Emanuela and then Marvelous for having me. I do hope that you guys have a wonderful journey in your software engineering career.
Yeah, right. Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac. Thank you for today's class and the previous class. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, everybody. Good night. But before we end the session, please, I would like to remind you about our event tomorrow. We'll be talking on cybersecurity and how to prevent being hacked online and how to secure yourself properly on the internet. It's for 6 p.m. and we also have an event for Bash Terminal. That's for 4 p.m. Nigerian time tomorrow. So hope to see you in the event. Good night, everyone.